What's going on, guys? Today I'm going to be showing you how I create sports manipulation graphics. Now, you may be wondering, what is a manipulation graphic? Now, in sports, it's basically where you take a subject and manipulate other subjects and the environment around it and make a graphic in a creative manner to tell a story. Now, obviously here, Trey Young isn't actually walking through New York. I've changed the scene around a little bit to make it look like he's walking through. And I'm going to give you a tutorial and a breakdown on how I made this. But first, I'm going to show you some of my favorite designers and some of their best manipulation designs, just to give you some ideas on how you could potentially do them. Now, first up, we got Rico Da Vinci. He does some really cool stuff like this one here. Scottie Pippen versus his son. And then we got some here looking like a Slam magazine, Complex magazine. Then next we got ZG Visuals. He's got some really cool ones. Things like this. This looks sick. You got Kareem and LeBron. And then you got stuff like this, starting five kind of stuff. This is good for engagement on Instagram because it often sparks discussion in the comments on which you'd rather choose. You can see all these guys arguing right here. And yeah, he's got some really cool ones going on, like this one. This is sick right here. So yeah, go check these guys out. Got Day X Sleep right here. He's got some really cool ones. I love this Kobe one. This one looks like it's taken a long time, just cutting out all the shoes and everything, getting the background and lighting right. And this one here too looks really sick. And as you can tell, these ones look like they've taken a really long time to do. My ones don't take as long because I don't use as many subjects and just use kind of a basic environment. So I'll teach you how to do that in a second. This guy Up by Riley does some really creative ones. So he basically mixes in current players with a lot of old players. Shaquille O'Neal with Joel Embiid right here. So these are really cool because you can do some really abstract sort of designs and create matchups that aren't really realistic. So yeah, he's got a bunch of really cool ones I like. A lot of different players. Yeah, so go check him out. LV Sports is another cool one I like. He's got some really cool lighting ones. Obviously makes the court very dark and then just highlights a few little things. He's got some crazy ones going on. And then I'll show you a couple of mine that I've done. So obviously this Trey Young one, and this Kobe one right here, Damian Lillard versus CJ McCollum, Ja Morant. Got a bunch on my Instagram, so make sure you go follow that for inspiration. So I'm going to give you a few key tips that'll help out your manipulation graphics and make them look a bit more realistic and make the subjects fit into the environment a little bit better. So I'll just briefly explain my design really quick. So I got Trey Young and he's in New York. So if you don't watch NBA, Trey Young plays for the Hawks and he's beaten the Knicks quite a few times and he kind of runs the town. Hence the name Run This Town, which is a song made like 12, 15 years ago by Jay-Z, Kanye West, and Rihanna. So I kind of made it look like a song on Spotify right here. So that's just the idea behind this graphic. So let's start off with this background layer. So I basically put in an image of space down here. Then I've cut out a little bit of the Statue of Liberty for New York. And then I've gone ahead and edited the Madison Square Garden with the Knicks player. Then I have this nice little picture of New York, which I masked out so you can see the sky a little bit more. And as you can see, a lot of these raw images stick out quite a lot. They don't really fit in together and the lighting's not quite right. So what I like to do to combat this is add in an exposure adjustment. So basically what this is it darkens your image a bit. See here, I've just turned down the exposure a little bit. So you can go here, click this one right here, drag the exposure down. And then I've just painted in some exposure on the outside to make it fit in a little bit more. So you can do that by inverting your mask and then just painting in where you think the light would hit. Another tip is to add in lots of exposure, some like dark areas to the parts that don't really fit in. In this case, I just added in some darkness over here just for the Spotify part. And then I've gone ahead and desaturated parts of the city just to make it less vibrant, and I've just painted out some areas just to make it fit in a little bit more. Then what I've done is I've duplicated the background, so I click Ctrl J, and that's just going to make a duplicate, and then you can click Ctrl E to combine everything. So that's what I've done just here. And then I've applied a Gaussian blur to it, and this just blurs it out so you can't see the details as much, and you can hide some of the flaws that your manipulation has, which is a good technique. So you can go up here to filter, click blur, and then click Gaussian blur, and you can turn it up as much as you like. If you do it there, it's very blurry. I turn it down just so you can see some small details, but not so much where you can see too much. So that's the background there, and I've just gone over here and duplicated the layer and added in some motion blur and then just painted it in on the outside so it looks a little bit more blurry. Now if we open up this overlays folder, what I've done here is added in a hue and saturation adjustment to it. So I've colorized it, set it to blue, and then desaturated it a little bit. So that just gives the entire background below just a little bit of a desaturated feeling. And if you do it all as a whole, kind of does it all together so it all matches. And then I've just set the fill to 25%. So if you take it off, it's all very blue and it kind of all looks the same, but I want to differentiate some of the colors in it. So I'm gonna turn it back down to 25. And then I've added in a red glow. So I've just painted in red over here and then set the blending mode to linear dodge. Same with the blue on the right hand side, and then just a couple of light leaks over here. And yeah, the background looks pretty good right now, so some nice colors in it. You can add colors wherever you like just to make the graphic look a bit settled in. And then for your subject, so what I've done here with Trey Young, I've illustrated him in Adobe Illustrator. If you want to know how to draw these, I've got tutorials on my other videos, so check out my page. Now, if we look at the plain subject by itself, you can see that it really sticks out like a sore thumb and doesn't really fit in with the rest of the environment. So the first thing I've gone ahead and done is added in a duplicate layer. So I've duplicated, so I'll show you right here. So if you duplicate the layer by clicking Ctrl J, you can grab the lower one, hold Control, and then drag this thing down. And then that's just going to change the perspective there. So that's just what I've done for this other layer. Excuse me while it loads. So just here, and then I've turned the fill down a little bit and then added in a motion blur just to give it some shake to it. So as you can see, it kind of gives off a reflection, so it looks more realistic with the environment to where the light's hitting. And obviously if he was here in real life, he would have a reflection. As you can see over here, all the other objects have reflections as the concrete has a little bit of water in it. Then next, what I've done is added in some shadows. So right there, you can see those little black things. So I've just got in a black brush, basically put it on a new layer. And then what you can do for the shadows, you can set your brush here and then you just tilt it a little bit that way so the circle's not as flat and it looks like the shadow is where his foot is. And then once you've done that, you just want to turn the opacity down a little bit, turn it down to however much you like, just so it fits in with the graphic. Now this is looking a little bit better, but he still is a little bit too bright for the background. So what I've done is added another exposure adjustment, just turn down his brightness a little bit so he fits in with the lighting of the scene. Then I've gone ahead and painted some shadows in with exposure. Now in my other videos, I'll show you how to do this, but basically you turn down the exposure, set and mask, and then click Ctrl I to invert, and then use a white brush just to paint it in. Same goes for the highlights. So I've highlighted around here. Obviously we got light sources from the left and the top right, so it's going to hit the outsides of his body. And then what you can do is add a hue and saturation layer if there's any color in your image. So obviously we got red over here, so you're gonna set your hue and saturation to a red, just similar to the lighting over here. Turn the saturation up a little bit and click colorize. Make sure it's clipped to your illustration. And then again, you're just gonna paint in where the red would hit, so it's only on the left hand side of Trey Young. And then same goes for the right hand side. I'm gonna put the blue on him. It didn't hit as much as I'd like to, doesn't look as great as the red does, but that just basically helps your subject fit into the coloring of the environment a little bit better, and make sure that the lighting looks realistic like it should in the environment. Now what I've done here is added in some snow. Obviously New York has snow, so I just added it into the environment. So I just got two little spark effects. So it looks like this, just one of them, and then I set a color overlay to white to make it look snowy, and then added in another motion blur just to make it look like it's moving, look like it's windy. And then I've done the same and then just adjusted both of them to make it look nice. Lastly, for the Spotify, I'll show you how I made this. Now this font isn't quite exact to the Spotify font, but I believe it is Gotham and it looks close enough anyway, so I'm not too mad about that. So we got the text here. Then I just got this image off Google and then placed it down, overlaid it, cut out all the black parts just so it's the buttons. And then I've just typed in the artist names, included Trey Young in there, turned down the opacity of it, and then I just masked out a little bit here so it looks like the real Spotify thing. Then obviously we got the rectangle as the play handle or whatever it's called. Turn down the opacity. I made it red for the Hawks color as well. Then we got the play head, which is this little ellipse. I don't know what it's called, but I added in a circle, and then this used to be another rectangle, which I just duplicated. Then I combined the two layers, and then added an outer glow to it. Then added just these timestamps right there, and then there you have it. Now, I also added in a couple color lookups, so you can go here, download them off the internet. You can just search up color lookup and just download whatever ones you like. And then that just adds some nice vibrance to the color there. And yeah, that's it. If you learned something from this video, consider liking and subscribing, and make sure to drop a comment if you need any help or have any video suggestions. And as always, have a great day.